Well, it's my honor to be here with Todd Duncan. Todd is a speaker, author, and expert trainer. He has New York best-selling books, Time Traps, High Trust Selling, and those are just to name a couple. He's the founder of the Duncan Group, and I'd actually be lying if I didn't admit I'm a little nervous here. He's been one of my mentors, and from reading his books, mentoring through his books, and he's been one of the people that I'd actually turned to earlier in my business career. That as I started my financial services and business building career, I leaned on his book called Time Traps. So, welcome, Todd. Glad to have you here.
It's a joy to be here, hang out with you, and there's magic that happens when two people get together with the single goal of bettering humanity and certainly leaders and their followers. And I am just delighted and elated that we get to have this combo. So
I appreciate that. And many people that will be listening to us, and as we move into the future and affecting other people's lives, many people, as they start their business, would love to know, if I could, let's start off with, what are the characteristics of leaders or good leaders?
Yeah. The first I would say is that you have to have a heart to lead. And what that means is that you have to have inside your own ethos. You have to have this desire to make an impact in people, and through those people make an impact in society with whatever it is that you're doing. Leaders have a heart to lead. Leaders have a boldness and bravery and courage to lead and have authentic conversations when things aren't going well. And leaders have a responsibility to create a culture around trust, empowerment, and engagement. So I wake up every day and I go, how can I lead well? Who deserves my praise today? Who do I need to have a private conversation with to make sure that we avoid the slide that comes after the slip? And that's a great leadership characteristic too. I want to know the minute something starts to turn the wrong way, how can I make sure we get it handled sooner than later so the slip doesn't become a slide? I think about this. What if I showed up every day as a leader? And what if all I did is initiate any conversation that day with this question? How can I help you win today?
Yeah.
What if I just did that? What if I stopped thinking about every other thing I do and just ask the question, how can I help you win today? And wake up every morning and before business starts, ask this question: who deserves my praise today? How can I help you win? Who deserves my praise? You want to have a culture that just kicks butt in the marketplace? That's all you have to do.
I want to take maybe a step back because, as you said too, first off, two major questions that if you as a leader ask those questions will direct your ability and, more importantly, your behavior to the right areas that need to be taking place, for sure. But and as I look back in your career, as you described how you got into business and things of that sort, I've noticed that every leader has, or every person has, this conflict. Something happens in their life, and they can either look at it as, man, life happens to me, or they can say, hey, life happens for me, and this is an opportunity for me to get better. It's the challenge. If I overcome it, they say the better person is on the other side of those adversities. What were some of those in your life that you had to face, and how did you face them?
So a couple of things come to mind pretty quickly. And I built a very deep and real friendship with John Maxwell, and John ran one of the greatest leadership, still does one of the greatest leadership companies that's ever existed. And in a 2-year conversation, John had a ministry vision that he wanted to pursue and couldn't do it if he still had his company. So long story short, I bought John Maxwell's companies, except for his not-for-profit. And my thinking was like, I'm a sales trainer, I'm a productivity trainer, John's a leadership trainer. Behind every leadership in John's company would be a bunch of salespeople who needed what I taught. And what I learned in that acquisition is my motive was pure, but my skills were absent. I was not an M&A guy. I didn't buy the company because I was a joint venture guy. I wasn't any of that, right? I bought it because I wanted John's vision for his other not-for-profit to be able to work. 2 years later, after putting, I don't know, millions of dollars into the company, I had to sell it. And that was not the goal. The goal was not to buy a company and literally lose 90% of my net worth. John had nothing to do with that. I put the wrong CEO in place and I put the wrong CFO in place. 2 decisions, 2 mistakes, and the whole thing didn't work out, right? So when I think about that and I think about, well, what did that teach me? Okay, it taught me to stay in my lane. It taught me to put systems in place to protect investment and reduce vulnerability. It taught me the power of leadership. Empowerment is not letting people just run free. And I let the CFO run free, and I had a really good CEO in my company, and I assumed that he could run a company of 40 people. He could run a company of 400 people. Those are my 2 mistakes. I mean, I lost everything, almost. And in that moment, I also lost my wife at 26 years to breast cancer.
Wow.
And I remember a moment in time in the hallway after my wife had passed. My 13-year-old son came up to me. I was crying in the hallway. And he looked at me and he said, "Dad, you got to do what you teach people." This 13-year-old boy, he looks at me. He goes, "Dad, you got to do what you teach people. You got to keep going." More than a couple of weeks later, Darren Hardy calls me from Success Magazine, and they're doing an interview. And the interview, they're doing a magazine topic for the month of October, and it's called The Big Fat Failure Issue. And he invites me to be part of it. You can imagine what an invite like that feels like. Hey, you want to be part of this? It's a big fat failure issue. I've never been fat. I'm in great shape, but I if you measure the size of my failure, it was a big fat failure. And I go, "Hell no, Darren, I am not going to do that." He goes, "Why not?" I go, "Why would I share my failure?" He goes, "Because there's millions of people that need to hear your story." Oh, what? Mm-hmm. He goes, "I'm serious. Think about this. You made it to the other side. And you have a 6-year story to talk about, from buying a company to losing a company to selling a company to selling another company, getting fired from your own company, to going to court, and then your wife dies. And now you're a single dad. You have a powerful story."
Thank you for going back there, because I could see in your eyes as you were playing it. I could even feel the emotions as you were speaking about it. So thank you for going there. How important is it that leaders navigate conflict, and how does that conflict create even a better culture for an organization?
If the things that matter most are subject to the inefficiency of what matters least, that is a losing recipe for work-life balance. Work-life balance is the ability to address the conflicts, to resolve the conflicts, to do them lovingly with people on the job and people in your sphere off the job, and to not become conflict avoidant. Because here's one truth I've learned. The longer you ignore something, the more of a priority it becomes. And in situational conversations, that's an example. And the other thing I've learned is what you tolerate persists. And so when's the best time to have a hard conversation? Before it gets really hard. Before it gets so hard that you avoid it and never have it. And then I said to somebody the other day, I said, "Who's on your payroll right now that you've given up on?" And it was very interesting, right? And then I said, "Do you realize," and this is a gift to everybody on the seat, the most expensive time in our life as leaders is the time between when we give up on somebody and the time we do something about it. We let people hang out too long that take the culture down. We don't lift up the A-player mentality fast enough. We don't run our business like a professional sports franchise, which means everybody that plays is gifted and good. What burns a hole in your soul is a conflict that is not resolved. And we will always have a filter through which every decision we have made will produce one of 2 outcomes. I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. And most people that finally have a conversation that was hard ask the question, why did I wait so long?
True.
And I said bold and brave and courageous earlier. Leaders have to be bold, brave, and courageous to make the space for conversations at work to improve the livelihood of the people in the organization
as a decision to improve the organization as a whole.
Yeah, it's huge. So if I want to stay on that work-life balance, because I've noticed
Questions are so good, we should turn this into a 3-hour, let's go.
we really could. I'm telling you, I was thinking, man, there's so much to talk about. I want to just stay on this work balance piece because it's really interesting. Most people think, my work life is over here, my life is over here. And I've also noticed that the skills that I learned in business always transfer over into my personal life and can either make my life better or worse. And there's two questions. This is part one. What are the behaviors and how have you seen your skill sets that you've done in business transfer into your personal life to make your personal life better?
Well, the easiest way to answer that is, if I am a leader in a relationship of two and the other partner is a leader in that relationship, then we have the trust, the capacity, and the desire to have honest conversation. And in that process is the same thing I said earlier. How can I help you win? Now, that may sound like a foreign question to ask your wife or vice versa, right? But when you are working on dreams together and you have a 3.5 foot by 5 foot dream board in your master bathroom and you're looking at all the areas that are important in your life, and you get to have conversation on how we're moving towards that, that is the kind of same relationship off the job as I mentioned earlier, on the job. Like, what are your dreams? Where do you want to go? Why do you want to go there? How can I help you get there? And so one of my wife's big dreams was to have a national best-selling book for business published. She and her dad had a beautiful business when she was young. They started the first infomercial company when Reagan deregulated advertising. They did 145 infomercials together, and she's got a great story to tell. So I got behind her, and I helped her write her first book, right? And to see the enormity of appreciation when somebody who cares, leader, helps somebody who wants to do something achieve it, whether it's off the job or on the job, magic. When you help your children achieve their dreams, magic. So I'll say one more thing about this. I wrote a book called Life on the Wire, and the subtitle was Making the Tension Between Personal and Professional Success Work. And I interviewed the Flying Walendas, the High Wire Circus Act, and I interviewed Tina Walenda, and I asked Tina, I said, you guys are walking a high wire, you don't use nets. What is the key to staying balanced on the wire when you're in the circus? And he goes, it's the same as life. You can never stop moving. And I go, well, that sounds awfully exhausting. He goes, no, but if you look at anybody on the high wire, they never stop moving. They may not be walking, but they're always moving, the balancing, the weight and balance pull, right? And they're not doing this big oscillation. They're doing these little changes, right? So when we look at work-life balance, you can't go like, I gained 10 pounds, now I got to go to the gym. I haven't told my wife I love her for 2 weeks. I need to tell her 14 times a day. I haven't done this, I haven't done that. And we just end up in this kind of like whirlwind, this kaleidoscope of confusion, right? That's never the solution. The solution is the aggregation of marginal gain. The solution is do everything in your life a little bit better each day, and you'll have work-life balance. Don't let the things that are priority, an ignored priority will become a bigger priority, whether it's health, wealth, relationship, divorce, whatever, drugs, alcohol, it doesn't matter. Whatever is important that is ignored will become more important, period. So you can decide how you want to live your life. Do you want to do the little dials, just a little bit each day and be open to that? Or do you want to just like all of a sudden have, go fix that. That's a fast track to burnout, blowout. I could go on for a long time on this one. I have a friend that wasn't a friend 5 years ago. I met him in Melbourne, Australia, and he was ready to commit suicide that day. And he came to a seminar that I was doing, obviously fortuitous. You know, the stars lined up, and he was right where he needed to be when he needed to be there. 7 years later, he's living life purposefully. He lost 70 pounds. He's made millions of dollars. He's sober. And he is now received 3 years in a row in Australia the #1 business for health and wellness advocacy. From suicide to that state, right?
Wow.
To watch balance is beautiful. And by the way, balance, you can never take your eye off the ball.
Yeah.
Balance is a bunch of little changes each day just to make sure you're going the right way, moving forward.
You know, that leads me to the next it's always interesting when especially when people have some successes, they say, that person is so obsessed, I don't want to be that way. And then I look at people that are very, very successful in business, and I have to always ask the question, do you have to be obsessed to be very successful? Do you have to be like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, or do you know, I've even seen several CEOs and business people that are just, it's all business all the time, 24/7, when the reality is that it almost looks like they're one-sided. There really may not be a balance, but they're super successul. How would you answer that question?
I think obsession is a bad word. I think every person has within them a level of greatness and potential. And certainly when you discover that greatness and potential, why would you want to be the best you could be at it? Okay. I would replace obsession with purposeful commitment. And I would understand that in a season of becoming better at anything, you will have a season of purposeful imbalance. And when you understand purposeful imbalance is a short-term decision for a long-term provision, okay, I'm going to do something during this moment in time to get me on the right track by this moment in time, or I'm going to learn a new skill that's part of my passion, but because of innovation and progress, I need to stay ahead of the times. There's a big difference between commitment and obsession. I know a lot of people probably don't draw a distinct line between those two. I am not obsessed with business any more or any differently than I'm obsessed with a great marriage. I don't even use the word obsessed. Am I committed? Yes. Am I purposeful? Yes. Am I passionate? Yes. Am I obsessed? No. I mean, if there's one thing that I could say drives me every day is I wake up and I just ask a question. Who's next? I just, it's not even, there's no obsession right now. If I do the work that I'm passionate about, the results happen. And it was like yesterday, I got 37 emails that were about thanking me for saving their life. And my response is, I did not save your life. You saved it. You get 100% of the credit. Okay. I just happened to show up when you needed to hear what you finally heard. That's it. I never know where I will be and why I'm going to be there and who is ready. That age old, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. I have no idea when that formula works. I just keep doing what I love doing. And how long do I want to do it? Until I die. Let me say it this way. One of my mentors said, and I love this, he said, if your memories of yesterday are greater than your dreams for tomorrow, you're dead.
Wow.
Physical death, mental death, spiritual death. We have this life. We only have one life, right? We never know when it's going to end. But everything we do every day right now determines that in a lot of ways that we can control, and in some ways we can't control. Life is hard. Write your life plan in pencil and prepare to pivot. Be open to the opportunities that come your way that are ways for you to use your gifts. Say no to the people and things that drag you down, that create drama in your life. Be an intentional, purposeful leader. Build a culture of greatness. Help people win.
That's awesome. In closing, Todd, I got to tell you, I have two real quick questions, and this has been a fantastic conversation. I can't wait for our people to hear it, to see how it relates in their life, and I can't wait to meet you in person. I'm really excited about it. So of all the things that we just discussed, there's several books that you've read, there's several books that you've written, there's people that you've met, and things that you've gone to see. What would be some resources for people if they said, I want to step up my game? What books maybe should they read? What events should they go to? What things should they be paying attention to?
So I think that the answer to the question for me as an author would be the books that are transformative for where you want to be and why you want to be there. There's obviously a lot of books to read, right? I mean, there's all kinds of things to answer. Here's the new world of learning, though, that I would say. So Fuel is building the largest digital video library in the world for performance instruction. That's my company. You can go check it out at fuel.io. And we are bringing instructors in. And what we're doing is we've created a company around this concept called micro learning, where you not only hear something, but then we help you make sure you understand how to implement that, right? There's 62 instructors. They've written 309 books. They have 250 million clients in total. So what we're doing is we're taking books and we're turning them into smart books by stripping away, imagine a 200-page book, strip away 150 pages, and then let that author teach the essence of that book. So not only is it a time saver in the way that it is even taught, but you can do it on the roll, you can do it in your car, it's like as easy as Netflix to use, and you could do a book a day. You can literally learn the essence of a book a day. So categories: do I want to be a better salesperson? Do I want to be a better leader? Do I want to have better work-life balance? Do I want to gain financial freedom? Do I want to lose weight? Whatever it is. So the answer, I think, is gosh, all the knowledge is out there. All the knowledge is out there. But read less books and do more with what you read instead of reading more books and doing less of what you learn.
Oh,
that's the key to success.
I love that. You know, a mentor of mine, his name is Mike Brooks, and Mike Brooks told me, he said,
I know Mike.
He's a fantastic guy, and he says, number one thing, Bill, you read all these books just to learn, but you don't do anything about it. And it changed my life. He's like, listen, why don't you read books to master them instead of just learn it? And I have applied that in my life, and it has drastically increased my productivity, my leadership skills, my effectiveness with people, and strengthened almost every relationship that I've had in my life for those that I'm called to serve. So it's, to your point, I love that quote. And I have one last question. I've asked you a lot of questions. Most of them around leadership. But what question should I have asked you, or what question do you wish that people would ask you when they're in interviews or they're meeting you?
I like this question too. So you've got all these bestsellers, you got millions of clients. Why are you still working? And my answer is, well, I never worked a day in my life. We kind of got there, but when you wake up and your only filter for the day is who's next, there's more to do. There's more to do. And so for me, it was like, why did I create this new company? Why did I, why did I invent a new technology company and create a learning company that would be as easy to use as Netflix with all the technology behind it? Because I wanted more people to be next. I wanted to democratize learning so the whole world can have access to becoming their best version of themselves. What's the most important leadership decision you've ever made, Bill? What's the number one thing that you look back on and you say, this was my game changer?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking that question. I had to learn what self-order meant. And when I was in chaos, I couldn't lead because I was in chaos. And self-order meant, what's my clear thinking? What are my clear tasks that I need to do on a regular basis? What are the disciplines and skill sets that I needed to do and accomplish every day? Because, as you know, success is built in a day. And I remember, along that line, I remember it was an opportunity that I had a chance to become, I'll call the first CEO or leader of an organization. And I remember it was my desire, my dream to become in that position. And then I realized, oh, I am totally unprepared for that. And it was a self-order question. So thank you for asking a question, because I will say the more order that I'm able to bring and more disciplines and skill sets that I'm able to realize in my life, the more I can give and the more I can share. And then that's the servant leadership versus, it's how can I help, not how ask him for more. It's a give to receive versus ask to take.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm inspired to say right now, because you are now, having gone through self-order, you now have high belief that you're a better leader, right? And the one thing I want to say to everybody is your limits begin where your beliefs stop. And to have limited thinking, to have limited behavior on what is possible in this abundant world where anything is possible, is probably the one thing that I would like to spend, like, I don't know, a 5-day masterclass on helping people get the psychology of belief figured out. And so let me just say that on my end, what that means is whatever you choose to do, become as competent as you can in doing it. What that does is it unlocks the gate for you to have confidence, which is necessary to take action. When your competence unleashes confidence, it unleashes consistency, which is the compound effect. And the more you do those three things and you watch the compounding effect of that, competence, confidence, consistency, then your life and your business will be enlarged in ways that up until now you may have thought would be unimaginable. But if you have no faith and you don't take a step and you don't go forward, the world will pass you by and you'll find yourself going backward very, very fast. So stay purposeful, stay intentional, stay passionate, wake up every day knowing that you're in the life-changing business. You're not in the sales business. You're changing lives each and every day with the things that you do and the resources and tools you offer, and never stop evaluating how you're doing. It's like scorecards. Get scorecards in school, A, B, C, D, F. Let's rate the 5 top areas in your life, A, B, C, D, F. Just use the scorecards. We're never going to be perfect, but we can always get better.
Todd, can I ask you one last thing? This is you mentioned something and we didn't hit on it due to time, but you mentioned scorecards. What are the things that you typically tell people that are in some form of influential position, or people that say, "Hey, want to be a better leader, want to be a better person"? What should they be measuring? What things do you recommend they should be measuring in their lives?
In their lives, or their team's lives, or both?
Both.
Yeah, I would measure happiness only in that happiness is a byproduct. You can't wake up and just choose happiness. Happiness is a symbiotic outcome of living and doing business purposefully. So that's number one. I think the other thing is to understand that whatever it is that is a new pathway for you to be better in anything in life takes micro measurement instead of macro measurement. And I'll give you an example. I'm in Baltimore and I'm in an Uber car and the driver looks in the rearview mirror and he goes, "What brings you to town?" And I said, "I have a speech tomorrow at a convention." And he goes, "Oh, so you're one of those motivators, right?" And I go, "Well, I'd like to think that people get motivated, but I believe I'm more transformative than I am motivating." And he goes, "Yeah, but I need some motivation right now. So since you're in my car, can you motivate me?" And I go, "What's going on?" He goes, "I've been trying to lose weight for over 2 years, and every Saturday when I get on the scale, I get depressed." And I go, "Okay." And he goes, "What should I do?" And I go, "It's super simple. Don't wait 7 days to weigh." And he goes, "Well, my trainer told me to do that because I don't want to get disappointed every day." Well, the disappointment every day is micro. The disappointment every week is macro. So I said, I'm going to tell you to weigh every single day. And I'm going to tell you to have a routine every single morning. 7 months later, you lost 48 pounds.
Wow.
And all you changed was consumption and measurement. You guys all are in the mode of greatness, and we all have a better version of us, myself included, Bill, you included. We all can be better. So choose better, choose greatness, and just do it every day, just a little bit every day. In a lifetime, we can all be a better version.
Message to live
so
by.
thank you for this time, and we're here for you. Come to Fuel.io and hang out and see if you like what we do, and anything I can do for you and your organization now that you are a master of self-care and all that kind of stuff. Count me in.
Appreciate it. Todd, thanks again. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.